and then we'll start off the alumni panel. I want to thank everyone around the world for being here. We have, like I said, 70 different countries registering, which is covering every continent, pretty much, except where the penguins are. So we won't count that. So I want to officially welcome you all to the UC Davis School of Law alumni panel for the LL.M program. This is a special event for you prospective students who want to learn from our wonderful alumni who will maybe answer your questions if you have any, but mostly share their experience on campus, why they chose an LL.M at UC Davis, and also the benefits of having a diploma of an LL.M in the US law. You'll learn from Emmanual, Shamay, and Rowena. You can see that we're diverse here today. We want you to feel welcome and welcome diversity also. This is one of our pet peeves, is that we welcome diversity here in the law school, but also on our campus. And I want to make sure that you feel welcomed wherever you are right now. And when the time is right, who knows, come study at UC Davis campus and learn, explore, and have all the wonderful experiences that our alumni are going to talk about. I quickly want to introduce myself so that everyone knows, and then I'll leave it to the alumni to not take too much of your time. I'm Melvin. I'm the Associate Director for International Outreach at UC Davis School of Law, originally from Europe, but representing the UC School of Law LL.M program here today. I'm going to leave the field or leave the floor better to our alumni. Let's start with the ladies, and then I'll leave it to you, Emmanuel. Maybe we can have you, Rowena, start, and then Shamay, maybe give a short introduction of who you are, when you graduated, and what you're currently doing.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Rowena. I graduated recently in May 2025 from the LL.M program at UC Davis. I currently work for a San Francisco legal AI startup called LegalOn Technologies, and I'm a legal annotator. So glad to be here.
Thank you, Rowena. Our freshest, newest alum. Thanks for joining here. And Shamay, who is currently in Azerbaijan.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. Shamay Zurayeva. I did my LL.M in 2010-11, so almost like 14-15 years ago. I currently work in Baku, Azerbaijan, at BP Energy Company. You must have heard about it. So at BP's office in Azerbaijan.
That's great. Thank you for joining us, Shamay. And then Emmanuel joining us. Thank you for joining us, Emmanuel. Can you give a short introduction of yourself? Where are you currently at? Are you currently in Nigeria? Is that correct?
No. No. So I graduated from UC Davis LL.M program in 2010.
Yes.
And currently I'm in Los Angeles. I am currently the managing attorney at Knight Temple Attorneys, a law firm based in Los Angeles.
Great, thank you for joining us, Emmanuel. Of course, I have a lot of questions for you all, and let's start with the first question. I think everyone will get a shot at some questions, but maybe I'll ask one question, and then let everyone share their experience. And the person who I'm asking it to might have a different experience, so we might have three different people asking or answering the same question. Sometimes I'll just ask someone if they have additional answers to the question, and let's see if we can unmute Rowena. There you go. Okay, so let's start with one of my first questions, and I'm sure a lot of people here are wondering why you all are alumni here. That starts with the first question: why did you choose the LL.M program? Emmanuel, what triggered you to come to the United States and more specifically to UC Davis?
Well, thanks again. I was a practicing attorney in Nigeria. where I was involved in very complex litigation cases and matters. And at some point, I wanted to really broaden my scope and kind of shift the paradigm. I wanted to understand corporate commercial practice. At the time, the world was really moving fast within that context. You would recall that when I got into the LL.M program in 2009, that was just in the wake of the financial crisis of 2008. And so you had a lot of those. The foundational causes of that event at the time, which was just a really cynical system that wrecked the financial capital of the world. You have characterized debt obligations that were false, and it just really wrecked the entire financial system. And so a lot of law firms were, trying to put themselves together to understand the dynamics of it, and they were moving really fast. If you're not in the mix of things at the time, you don't even understand, first of all, how that whole sector works. So you're just practicing going to courts in the morning, and that's it. You're doing litigation, everyday practice, but you don't really understand, the corporate world and what it means to be involved in it as a lawyer. And so I wanted to develop my capacity in that regard. And so I said, well, I'm just going to do a master's program in corporate commercial practice. And then I looked up some schools. Obviously applied to a bunch of them in the United States. I got admitted to about 3 law schools, but I chose UC Davis, and here's why. The I'm sure we're going to talk about the culture of UC Davis later, but the primary reason was the subject matters, the courses, the kind of classes they offer. I thought were really key to what I was looking at developing. And so I said, you know what, I think this would be the best place for me to be. Again, we'll talk about the culture of campus. We'll talk about UC Davis later. We'll talk about Davis as a whole. But that was really the primary focus on the foundational acceptance of what it was for me.
Great. Thank you for sharing your insight and the reasons why you came to UC Davis. Shamay, what was your reason? Why did you end up choosing UC Davis?
Yeah, well, I didn't have the kind of experience like work experience like Emmanuel had. I was almost fresh out of my bachelor's and the law school in Azerbaijan. I did internship at American Bar Association Rule of Law Initiative. It had office in Baku, and I had done internship at BP at the time as well. So I realized that having a foreign law degree, especially from a country with common law system, that would be really beneficial for my career in the future. So I started looking for law schools in the United States. United States was my preference because I had done an exchange program while in high school. So and I really liked living in the US. So that was my preference. And I looked at UC Davis among other law schools. It had, like Emmanuel said, it had very good course program, the kind of subjects that I wanted to study. And it also had very good law school ranking. So it is plus also, of course, I researched a little bit about Davis, California, and there was really good feedback about the town, how safe it was, how environmental friendly it was, how family friendly it was, etc., etc. So I was really, excited to go to this law school. I applied, and thankfully I got in. So I didn't regret my decision. It was one of my best kind of times. At the law school.
Thank you, Shamay, for sharing that, and I think you mentioned already a couple of very important topics to everyone who is at UC Davis, is being a family friendly, safe environment, and also environmentally cognizant of that. So thank you for sharing that and bringing that up. It's very important for the audience to learn about that, and that is important to us. Rowena, your memory has to be fresh. You're fresh off the classroom benches. So tell us what happened. What happened in the meantime? Well, why did you pull the trigger on UC Davis among other schools, I suppose?
Yeah, my path is a little bit less traditional than everyone else's. So I studied law in the UK, and then I practiced for a short while as an attorney in my home country of Malaysia. But then I left the practice a little bit earlier than that, after a year or so, and I moved to Singapore. So in Singapore, I did more immigration law focused work, but immigration in Singapore, in Southeast Asia, is not really legal per se. It's under this department called Global Mobility and HR. So I was doing that for about 4 and 5 years. So I was basically working in international companies like PwC and Nike, being the lead immigration advisor for the APAC markets, mainly Southeast Asia and Japan and South Korea. But after like 5 years of doing that, I wanted to go back into law and try something new and something different. And it's quite difficult, especially in Singapore, when you want to switch careers after being in one area for so long. And I struggled a lot to like, maybe I should learn more, gain more knowledge in a different area of law. And that's when I realized, I wanted to do a master's, and in the US as well, partly because of family reasons too, I decided to move here. But why I chose UC Davis per se, for me, because coming from Singapore, Singapore is one of the safest countries in the world. So I wanted to go to a place that's also safe. And Davis was actually one of the top choices because it is a very safe place, hardly any crime. You can walk out at night, especially as a woman. It was less of a culture shock for me. Apart from that, I think what really spoke to me was the welcomingness and then the friendliness of the admissions team compared to other law schools. So UC Davis makes it really easy to apply and to get in as well. Because with other law schools, you have to go through, was it LSAC or something, where you have to, get your documents notarized, and then you have to, and it's a lot of money as well just to apply. Whilst for Davis, you can just email it to the admissions team. It's so
Yeah.
easy. And they make it, and it was very friendly as well. I think all the admission team members were very welcoming. It was easy to get information about the law school compared to other law schools. So I just felt like, okay, this feels like, a great place to call home. And I think that's what really attracted me to the law school. Apart from that, culturally, it is non-competitive in the sense that everyone there just wants to help you succeed. It's not very much like a dog eat dog kind of world, which is very rare for law schools. So I really enjoyed my time because of that reason. So yeah.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Yeah, I think it's really being part of the community, and everyone is willing to help and support each other. Certain alumni referred. Last week we had a lunchtime talk, and an alumni from, I think, from the 80s said, I don't know what was in the right mind of the person who admitted me, but luckily my classmates pulled me through the LLM and the JD program. So yeah, that is kind of a testament of how supportive the environment here is. Now let's talk about your individual goals. Of course, you were at different stages in your life. What professional or personal goals did you have for the program, Emmanuel? Maybe starting with you again.
Yeah. As I said, originally, I had a reason to embark on that journey, to get an LLM
Yeah.
from UC Davis, and for me, it was really about practicing law and understanding the corporate commercial landscape. When I was done with the program, I got a few offers back home in Nigeria, and but at the time also I got a separate offer in a national bank here in the United States. And as I said, you know, that was when we had the financial crisis, you remember, and it was really crazy. and that financial bank that I got a job with, they really wanted me in litigation department, which is exactly what I really wanted to do all along. The difference was that it's going to be in the corporate world versus practicing law back home. And so I said, you know what? I think I would do this for a little bit and see how it goes. But I got really entrenched in it because I was in litigation department where I had to really put to test the knowledge and experience and everything I gotten from UC Davis into real practice. And it just kind of fits the purpose. And it was all about purpose, desire, really. Really, my focus at the time was just to be able to apply myself. And so, getting that opportunity in that place just really brought to bear everything I really wanted. It was really testing. It was really, really difficult. It was also very challenging, if you will. But again, I was well prepared because of all the training and studies and experience and everything I got, especially from my program at UC Davis. We got fantastic professors at the time in UC Davis who were faculty, people like Professor Anupam Chanda, who I believe is now in Georgetown in Washington, D.C., people like Professor Afro Richmond, and those people really shaping those areas that I really needed to move in the future. And so when I got into that bank, I was there. I thought I'll be there for a year or two and probably return back home in Nigeria. But then here you are. I was there for 6 years, grew up through the ranks, became a vice president. And, when you get to that level, before you know it, you are thinking of the very next step, which is at that point to become licensed in California. And so I decided to take the bar exam.
That's great. It's great to hear that story, which sounds, and it probably was for you, very enriching and fulfilling on personal and professional terms. So thank you for sharing that, and thank you for that testament. Shamay, what were your goals? You of course were at a different time in your life. You mentioned that you were fresh off the LLB, your Bachelor in Law. So how did you envision this program? What were your goals personally and professionally speaking?
Yes, I was like almost fresh out of LLB, like I said before, but I had done like a very short period of internships in different organizations, like which had some ties to US and UK. So I mean, I had worked a little since I have worked in a corporate environment. I knew that I wanted to do at that time. I knew that I wanted to do corporate commercial law. So that was the thing that I was really certain about. And I chose UC Davis because it had these relevant courses that I could take. And also another thing was the common law system, because in Azerbaijan it's civil law system and it's completely different from common law. And I mean, working in a kind of international company for a short period of time, I realized how it would be beneficial to understand the common law system, how the case law works, etc. So that was the kind of thing that I wanted to learn, and UC Davis provided that opportunity. And I took the kind of relevant courses.
Sorry to interrupt, Shamay. I have a special guest coming in the office.
Is that Professor Greenwood?
Professor Greenwood, our Associate Dean Greenwood. Let me put the camera up on your face.
Hello, everybody.
Hi, Professor Greenwood.
Hi, Professor.
Hello. It's so wonderful to see our fantastic alumni who are speaking today. I haven't seen some of you for a while, and you look fantastic, and I'm so proud of your accomplishments. For those of you in the audience, they serve as an inspiration for what you can do to achieve your dreams. And it doesn't make any difference if it's hard. I know each of you, and that each of you have worked through many different things in order to be where you are. So I encourage each and every one of you that's on today to think about your dreams, to let us help you achieve them. And to our wonderful panelists, thank you from the bottom of my heart for doing this wonderful work today and showing your great success. Bye-bye.
Hey.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor Greenwood, for joining this morning. So sorry to interrupt, Shamay.
Sorry.
Sorry to interrupt, but I felt like it was a valuable insight from Professor Greenwood to share that. Sorry, we can absolutely, sorry, I need to fix my camera first. Then we can absolutely pick back up with your input, Shamay. Go ahead.
Yeah, so as I said, I mean, the courses offered by UC Davis, I mean, I took several courses like contract law, corporate law, mergers and acquisitions, which proved so much beneficial in my in my career over the years, because I have continued working. I mean, I have been working for BP for almost like 14 years. And a lot of the work I do is contract law, contract negotiations, drafting, etc. And the contracts are governed by English law, which is very similar to US law. And I mean, it's pretty much common law. The concepts are very similar. So that was a kind of invaluable kind of experience learning for me. Also, I took the mergers and acquisitions class, which was not offered in many programs like LL.M programs, and I took that, and today I do some M&A deals as well. So it has kind of over the years, the courses I took, they proved so beneficial and helpful for my everyday work.
Thank you, Shamay, for sharing that and for your valuable insights. Rowena, what was it for you? Your goals and your on your personal level, but also your professional level, of course.
Yeah, my goals, once again, it was all over the place when I first came in because coming from immigration, I thought, okay, maybe the safest thing to do would be to do immigration again, something that I'm very familiar with. So when I came into UC Davis with that mindset, I was very set on, okay, I'll do the immigration clinic or I'll take immigration courses. But then I realized maybe I should try something different. So my journey, I would say, was more of like a journey of self-discovery where it kind of evolved over time from what I actually wanted to do right now. So I was very fortunate to take, different classes. One of them was business associations and corporate risk management. So I remember one of that class, corporate risk management, was with a visiting professor from Meta. I think he was the general counsel, if I'm not mistaken. And he was sharing his experience as a counsel in Meta, what he does on a day-to-day basis. And I got very interested in risk management because of him, actually. And I also had a very fantastic professor for business association, Professor Miazat, which got me really interested in business law. So from there, I realized, okay, maybe I should try to do something in business law. So halfway through my first semester, I actually remember coming to Professor Mori and Professor Greenwood saying, okay, maybe I want to do a concentration in business law now. So I had to quickly make up for it by doing more business law courses. And towards the end, also before coming into the LL.M, I was dead set on not doing the bar at all because I was like, I don't want to do it. I just want to, maybe try and see first. But towards the end of my experience, now I'm actually studying for the bar exam, funnily. So yeah, so after towards the end, I've also taken up different other skills-based classes. One of them is contract drafting and development, which is something I highly recommend for anyone that wants to learn more about contract drafting or you just want to enhance your current skills as well. That actually helped me get my current job because I do a lot of contract review in my current job. And I was able to talk about it in the interview, what I did in that class, what I've learned, what kind of contracts, how to redline, how to draft, how to amend. And I think that really helped shape what my goals were in the end of the day, which is to eventually go back into business law or to try business law. So yeah, I would definitely recommend choosing different courses and not just stick to one area if you're not sure like me.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're not the only one. A lot of people come in here and they decide to go in one direction, and then halfway through a semester they decide that they want to do something completely different. So it's not unheard of. And actually my next question, I'm actually going to start with you again, Rowena, because you're the newest alumni, so a little bit more up to date on how the classes are going. My question to you was, how was taking classes different here than what you were used to, and how was the interaction and experience with faculty?
It was totally different because I studied law in the UK. And in the UK, it's very much a self-study model in the sense that you have big lectures with like 200 people. There's no interaction, the professor just talks. And then you have these little breakout tutorial groups where you're grouped into at least a maximum of 5 to 10 students. And that's when you kind of ask questions with your professor, and there's a lot of interaction from there. So, and lectures back in the UK are a maximum of 50 minutes, and then tutorials are about 1 to 2 hours. Whilst here in UC Davis or even in the US, lectures are like 2 hours long. And then there's also this thing called cold calling, which I was not used to at first. Is when the professor actually like calls your name in class and you're supposed to answer a question in front of everyone. This can be like 40, 50 people, 60. And that was so scary for me because I was not used to it. And I remember I took a couple of bar classes. So bar classes are the ones that test on the bar, for example, like property law and business associations, so that you're grouped with the JD students most probably. So it was a little daunting because, of course, if English is not your first language, when the professor asks you this question, the JD students tend to answer it really fast, and they seem like they know everything. And even though you've practiced law in your home country, you're a little bit shy. You don't really know how to articulate your thoughts properly in a sentence. So that was one of the most daunting things, but it also pushes you to prepare before the class. And I think that's very important because sometimes with self-study models back in the UK, we tend to push things to last minute only till exam day. You can just, read your notes and study. Whilst here, you kind of have to prepare before the class because the professor might call you out in front of everyone. And I think that helped a lot when it comes to preparation and exams. I felt more prepared compared to back home. And in terms of like peer support, I would say it's very different in the sense that they're very nurturing and caring. It's very much one-to-one, compared to the UK. The UK, everything is just based on your own initiative. Whilst here, I felt like they reached out constantly and they gave a lot of resources. They kind of spoon feed you, I would say. Like they give you a lot of materials on how to study, what kind of questions are going to come out. Whilst in the UK, it's very much they give you the materials. It's up to you how you want to do it. Just go for the exams. And then if you want to come and see the professor, it's on your initiative. If you want to do something extra, everything is on your own initiative. So I really liked the level of support that the US law system, legal schools do, because it just really helped me as an international student to be more acquainted with the current system here. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know that for the other alumni, it's already a few years ago, but do you have any additional information to share on how it was for you, Emmanuel, for example? How was it different for you, for a person? Uh, how was it different in your sense than what
Yeah,
you were used to?
right. Rowena is exactly right. In terms of how it was in UC Davis. In King Hall, you have a lot of support. The support base is fantastic. Whereas the professors, the accessibilities to faculty, to the entire staff, when you are coming from a different country, or a different continent, you have a lot of challenges at first. You don't really know how things move and functions around faculty, around King Hall. You need that support base. And so for me, I was coming from Nigeria where, just like Rowena as well, when you are in classes in Nigeria, the professors are pretty much talking and you're taking notes, and that's what it is. Then you go do your own self-studies. If you have reasons for questions, you probably need to set up an appointment that would take days and days. Sometimes you might not be able to get a hold of the professor for like a week or months or whatever. You know, for a while. And so, but when you compare that with King Hall, you can pretty much just walk into a professor's office. You just walk into the office and just knock on the door and say, you know, you have a minute or two, and like, "Oh, come in, come in, come in." And you walk in and you sit down and you say, "Well, I had a question regarding XYZ that was taught in class. I'm having trouble understanding this subject or this course." And he's just gonna right off the bat sit you down and just start taking it. It's like you almost feel like, you know, oh, I thought we need to set up an appointment, then I'll come back. You get ready for me. It's like, no, yeah, you have a moment right now. Yeah, go ahead and sit down. And that happened to me over the course of my, you know, time in King Hall. You know, I just almost, you know, had a sense of um, a sense of belief that, look, you have a problem, you can just walk in there, they're going to sort it out, and you're going to understand exactly what you have a problem with. And so, you know, that resources alone for me was really, really pivotal, because a lot of classes I took, um, you don't find, you know, first of all, a lot of classes I took, you don't, there was really no LLM students in those classes. Professor Greenwood will attest to it, because when I chose my classes then, I remember she had a meeting with me saying, "These are really tough classes. Are you sure you really want to do this? Take these classes? These classes are for like jaded students, people who, uh, you know, just starting law for the first time, and they are really tough." And I said, "Well, that's the reason I'm here. It's to study. It's the reason I came here. I chose those classes and the rest of it." And yeah, but she was right. They were really, really tough. When I got in the mood, I first of all got into the class. I saw maybe like in some of those classes, maybe 5 people, 6, 7. When you think about it, with the other courses or classes that we were taking, with every other person involved, we had like 30 people, you know, 35 people and all that. And even the ones who have like, what, 10, 12 people, before you know it, people are dropping it, dropping it, dropping it. And by the time it gets to exam or finals, you have like maybe 7, 8 people. So we're talking about classes like international finance, about taxation, corporate governance, securitization, you know, and yes, business associations, with then Professor Robert Hillman. And these are really, really challenging courses that I took, really tough classes. And so I needed those type of support base. If it weren't for the kind of faculty and the kind of, you know, place King Hall was, absolutely impossible for me to get through. There was no way. At some point, I got really frustrated because I couldn't really understand a lot of things. It was so difficult. And so I kept hearing in my ears the conversation I had with Professor Greenwood, that I told you was very difficult. This is tough. This is difficult. She was right. But again, because of those professors, and that's why I kept mentioning people like Robert Heyman, Anupam Chanda, Afro Richport, they were really, 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 really helpful. And they just, you know, she took me, M&A, Afro Richport, and these people, they were always very accessible. You could just walk into their office. They're going to sit you down, break it down to the simplest possible way, in a way that you will be able to pick it up right off the bat and run with it. And so that was really, really helpful for me. And I think that UC Davis and the faculty did a fantastic job with that.
Thank you for sharing, Emmanuel. Shamay, did you have any different feeling when you were in school in Azerbaijan versus here? How was your experience with that?
The main difference for me was that the learning in Azerbaijan was mostly theoretical, while learning at UC Davis was more practical. Mm-hmm. In Azerbaijan, at the university, we learned about the rules, and but didn't kind of learn much about how the rules should be applied, how issues should be identified, I mean, that aspect was kind of lacking in the law school at the university in Azerbaijan. So that was the kind of main difference for me, and which I found very helpful.
That's great. Yeah, because you mentioned that in the classes here you weren't used that it was with case law and actually applying the rules to the actual cases. So yeah, that's very useful and very helpful to give that insight. I know that we have people from all over the world, so of course bits and pieces might apply to your country. We have about 23 different countries ranging from Australia, Argentina, Hungary, South Korea, Kenya, Uganda, Turkey, Sweden, Uzbekistan. So people from everywhere who are registered for this class. And let's switch to a different gear. I know that everyone is mentioning the staff here and meeting. How important was it for each of you to meet with Professor Greenwood? Because before you start your program here, right, you're accepted, if you're lucky, you're accepted into the program. And then, of course, you need to come up with a class schedule and discuss your goals. Right now, that transition to Professor Mori, who is doing that because he's the director of the LL.M program. But when you were there, it was Professor Greenwood. How was that for you, Shamay? How important was it for you to have that discussion with Dean Greenwood?
It was really kind of important because I knew what I wanted in terms of my professional goals, what I wanted to achieve, but I wouldn't know. I mean, what a kind of set of courses would suit me best.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of also what I remember sitting down and selecting a bunch of courses, like too many courses, but I was told actually these are too much for you to take during a semester. So that was something. Then I had to pick out what applied to me the most. But also it was very helpful because there were like some compulsory courses like legal research and writing and introduction to U.S. law. These were also very important because I wouldn't. I mean, I couldn't take a lot of the courses that I wanted to take, but instead I had this general course of introduction to U.S. law, which provided some kind of basic foundation for different areas of law that I wasn't able to take. Also, the legal research program was very helpful. So the office provided me with this insight, which really helped, and I could then tailor my choices accordingly. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. I think what Professor Greenwood told me recently is students always come here and they're like kids going into a candy store. They want to pick all the candies. They want to have a little bit of everything. But then she and now Professor Mori are the gatekeepers, and they have to tell them you can pick 4 or 5 at the most. Because everyone is coming to a new school with new interesting classes. So that is, I think, the good way to put it. Rowena and Emmanuel, maybe Rowena first, but Emmanuel also. Do you agree with Shamay? Was that something different for you that you feel Professor Greenwood added to that meeting with you?
Yeah, for me it was quite similar. But I think she tried to get me to take more classes than I wanted because I wanted to first take the bare minimum, but at the same time, at that time, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. But I think I really appreciated the guidance coming in. I think it's very helpful to know whether you want to do the bar in the US or not, and also your background. So in California, for example, if you're a foreign attorney, you can actually register for the bar exam without the LLM. Whilst if it's New York, if you study common law, for example, like UK law, you don't really need the LLM too, but if you come from a civil jurisdiction, you need the LLM. And there's certain requirements and certain bar subjects that you have to take, like units that you have to take. So they advise you on all these options beforehand and what you actually wanted to do. I remember when I first, for the first semester towards the end, I was very dead set on doing the New York bar. So, and New York has a lengthy evaluation process, even if you're a foreign attorney. So they did advise me, Professor Moore and Professor Greenwood, to take some bar subjects just in case the evaluation falls through. At least you have the LLM as your safety net. And I think that was great advice. So yeah, I did do some bar subjects for that, but thankfully the evaluation did go through. But then I changed my mind and I wanted to do California after I got this current job, considering it's all based here in California. But in the end, I still don't regret because that bar subjects that I did in the LLM really is helping with my bar prep right now, especially since you've had the knowledge and the foundational knowledge of going through the classes for like really hard classes, for example, business associations, property law, even contracts, for instance. So I really appreciated that advice and the guidance that they gave me. And they will, offer this advice and guidance throughout your course. It's not just like in the beginning, you can always come in anytime and say, Professor, I want to do something else right now. I don't know what else. And then they'll just tailor your program accordingly. And I think that flexibility that the staff gives to us is really important and really helped me especially. So
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Emmanuel, was that also the case for you, or was it in a different way that you got guidance from Dean Greenwood?
No, it was exactly the case with Professor Greenwood. She knows exactly how I feel towards her. She's how do I put it? Without her, I probably wouldn't have made it through UC Davis, period. And that's because, it's just the disposition, accessibility, just everything that comes with her. Selecting courses, classes, constant emails to kind of walk you through every step of the way. And it feels like just, when you think you know certain things, you really don't. And so when it comes to courses, so selecting courses, as I said, he had several meetings with me to walk me through my selections. And obviously I had, a set goal in my mind. Like I said, as an attorney coming from Nigeria, I had a set goal already. And I knew what exactly I wanted to achieve in UC Davis and the kind of classes and courses that I wanted to take. And she with Professor Floyd Finney, who's passed away now, we had several meetings, and they really helped me get through it. At the end of the day, they allowed me to do what I wanted to do, however difficult. But at some point, Professor Floyd Finney said, "Listen, we're not going to let you take more than these. These are really tough already for you, and we think that if you add more courses to it, it's going to be really crazy. And we want you to be successful. We don't want you to not graduate within the time. And so we're just going to, cut it here." And it was all for the best of it, because I was able to achieve what I wanted to achieve at the same time, graduate at the time that I had planned to graduate. And in terms of taking the bar, like I said, I never foundationally, had the mindset to take California bar exams. It was all about just, developing expertise in certain areas of law.
Yeah.
And that was it. But it later changed because I took the bar. Perhaps, knowing what I know now, I probably would have taken some bar testing courses while I was in King Hall.
Yeah.
Because the bar is extremely tough in California. It's a very tough bar exam, really difficult. And so, not having any of those foundational knowledge, even though I have, considerable knowledge, my foundation is, as a lawyer in Nigeria, it's all based on common law, but it just doesn't, that's just the beginning of it. To be honest, if you take the bar exam in California, you will understand what I'm talking about. It's an extremely tough test. I believe the toughest in the country in the United States. And so I would have taken a few of those bar testing courses in Davis, but it was too late, and I had to really drain myself in studies in preparation for the bar exams.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. It definitely sounds like Professor Greenwood helped shape and give form to what your goals were, because everyone comes with the goals and they help translate that into exactly what classes and preparation you need. I know that we're having a lot of fun, and it's already 45 minutes into the discussion, and I still have a lot of interesting topics to discuss. But maybe we have to pick and choose because we also receive a lot of questions. So maybe let's touch on the subject of the bar exam. Get each of your inputs, because I think you're all three passed the bar or are passing the bar exam. Rowena, is that correct?
Yeah,
And
hopefully.
so let's have a discussion on that, and then maybe have like a last word on what your suggestions are, or what your final comments would be, and then we can go into some questions. Does that sound good?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So maybe let's talk with people who have already passed the bar exam. I think Emmanuel and Shamay both passed the bar exam. Can you maybe first, Shamay, can you tell us which bar did you take, and how did you go about it, and did UC Davis prepare you for that?
Sure. I took New York bar exam, and and I passed it. Of course, the courses I took at UC Davis, first I needed those to become eligible to take the bar exam. So I had the minimum courses required. The contract law and business associations were the courses that I took. Secondly, of course, having taken those courses helped me to prepare at least for these subjects. But I also too had taken some, as I said earlier, the introduction to U.S. law, the compulsory course, as well as the legal research and writing course. So those two were also beneficial in terms of having like foundational knowledge of U.S. law, and also the legal research and writing that provided guidance on how kind of you can write, basically. So that was really helpful when I prepared for the bar exam. As long as you take a very disciplined approach and you have a kind of a program schedule for yourself to prepare for the bar exam, it's doable. So, and for those who want to take LLM program, I do suggest to review the eligibility requirements, because they change over time, and understand what courses at least you need to take to be eligible. For me, it was I should have taken the LLM program, because I was coming from a civil legal system. But for some people it's not required, and there is no kind of course requirements for some. So something to note. And also seek help from the faculty. I mean, the LLM program at UC Davis, they are very helpful and will provide guidance as required.
Thank you for sharing that, Shamay. And Emmanuel, how was it for you? How did UC Davis prepare you for the bar exam? Which bar did you take? And how was that experience for you?
Yeah, I took the California bar, and so again, I would, I would put it like this. So for me, the valuable lessons I got from UC Davis in preparation to the bar, or in connection with the bar exam in California, was really about the writing formula. So you see, I was coming from Nigeria, where we have a certain way of writing as an attorney or as a lawyer in Nigeria. It's absolutely different from the way a U.S. attorney would write. And so in UC Davis, I've obviously haven't gone through a system. I understood how you write differently in the U.S. as a lawyer, and so I had to really work on that. But once I got through that, taking the bar exam, I also realized, yeah, I could put that to use this is exactly the way you should write in the United States as an attorney. And I have to leave what I was used to ever since then. In terms of studies, as I said, I didn't take any bar prep courses during my LLM program at all. Not even contract, not even, the only thing I took close to that was business associations with Professor Robert Hillman, who I believe is now out of faculty, retired. And so that was the closest thing I took that related to California bar exam. I had to pretty much start afresh. So um, I took prep courses, Barbary. I took Barbary. I got personal tutor because I felt I needed that because it was really daunting. It was a lot of studies. If you want to take the bar in California, my recommendation is this: you have to apply yourself absolutely. And when I say absolutely, I mean absolutely. Now, if you have to work while you're doing it, then you need to give yourself enough time to be able to do that while you're studying. The California bar actually, I feel like it's an everyday work. It's a full-time job. It requires you to absolutely apply yourself in every way, shape, or form. And that's why, I've got friends who were taking the bar. You wouldn't even see them at all. You won't see them. Whether it's social media, you need to drop those phones. You need to drop the social media, those tweeting, those Instagram, and this and that for a period of time to be able to prepare yourself to take the bar exam. It's a really tough test. And so, I never knew it was like that. I thought, when I took the bar in my home country, it was like a smash and grab. Passed it one time, just you have that feeling that whatever, that's what it is. I'm gonna just study pretty smart. I'll do it and this and that. No, it's not like that.
Yeah.
You don't apply yourself, you're not gonna be able to pass it in a sitting, and that's how I feel about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, recently I spoke to a student, and the student said that for 3 months, after the LLM ended, for 3 months, about 8 hours a day, he was studying for the bar exam, and that was about his life. He had his wife and his kid there, and on the weekend he took some time off. But like you said, it's a full-time job.
Yeah, when I was studying for the bar, I started studying from like 10 a.m. up until 10 p.m. at night.
Yeah.
And I pretty much just took like an hour for lunch. And then I remember my mom would just put my lunch just by the study door, like the room where I was studying. I knew that my lunch was going to be there at about 2 p.m. And I opened the door and it's right there on the floor. Literally, I'm not joking. And I just open it, I just grab it, I just eat because I can't be out there.
Yeah.
It's like you sequester yourself from everything about life. And people don't see you. Again, social media, those are unnecessary distractions. And so you that's how you get through California bar. If you're taking Barbary or Kaplan or whatever you call it, it's an extremely bunged up, program where you don't see space to do anything else. It's just all about study, practice, study, practice. And so I would recommend highly, if you want to take the bar, not to, put in so much work in terms of walking to earn money. But if you have to, some people don't have that choice or option. If you have to, then you need to give yourself enough time to be able to do both.
Thank you, Emmanuel. And Rowena, how is it for you? What bar are you preparing for? And you said California, is that correct? And how is the studying going? Are you taking any bar prep courses?
Yeah, I would like to say it's going great, but it is very tough. I definitely agree with whatever Emmanuel said. It is a really rigorous program. So I am taking Themis, non-Barbary, and similarly as well. I didn't technically I chose to work part-time because it is quite expensive to be in California and just not work for like 2, 3 months. I didn't have that option, unfortunately. But if you do choose to work, definitely, like Emmanuel said, take enough time. For me, I'm taking about 6 months. But if you want to make, bar prep your full-time job, some people said they did it in 3 months. I still, in my opinion, I wouldn't be able to do that because I'm more of like a slower learner. I take time to memorize rules, and sometimes it just doesn't stick. I have to go back and then reread it at least 10, 20 times, stick it in my wall, stick it everywhere, see it every day. And then maybe after 2 months, I can remember the rules. So my approach was basically working part-time, and then I would study 4, 5 hours a day during the week. And maybe Saturday, I would study about 4 hours. And then Sunday, usually I take off. And that would be my life for the next 6 months. But yes, the California bar is pretty hard. My main advice is if you are unsure of taking the bar, or maybe you want to take the bar in the future, definitely try to do as many bar courses as you can in the LLM. I took business associations and property law, and also contracts for LLMs. So property, in my opinion, is actually one of the hardest subjects, because they just have all these weird contracts that come about, like quasi contracts, wrap. It doesn't make sense to me until now. But my professor in UC Davis taught us about it. And she was a really good professor, Professor Rogers. And she was like a personal tutor to me. So I took the exam in UC Davis as well, and did very well because of her. So now when I do the bar prep course, I can kind of skip all the lectures and most of the work that DMIS requires, because I already know. I can just like revise my notes and kind of just do the practice questions on the get-go. Unlike some of the other subjects like civil procedure and evidence, and few of the other harder subjects, I would recommend you take during the LLM course, only because it just makes your life a lot easier during bar prep if you've already had it. Because UC Davis, it's just very different when you're doing lectures um, in person as compared to on a screen. It's just you retain more information when you have a lecture talking professor talking to you, and having that professor and tutorials and stuff, as well as mentorship from your peers and the other JD students, as compared to doing a bar prep course where it's just virtual and then you just do the work from there. I didn't have a tutor, but it is, I would say, something quite challenging, but it is definitely doable, and I hope I pass. So in February. But yeah, so that's usually my experience and my advice right now.
Well, we wish you good luck. I think Shamay and Emmanuel know what you have gone through, and many other before you. So good luck with that. And of course, if we can help you in any way or form, we of course would. I know that this hour has passed by extremely quickly. I think we've gotten to about 6 or 7 questions of the list that I sent you. So we won't be able to go further much more. I do want to ask some questions. Now, I know I want to be thoughtful of your time. Some are working, and some have a very late evening in Azerbaijan. So of course, if you need to leave, please feel free to log off as needed. If you have some extra minutes to share your answers to some questions, I'll be happy to ask them to you. I see one in specific for Emmanuel, so maybe if we can address that first. I think it's a question from Olivier Badibanga, who is saying how this is my question to Emmanuel, how he got the job after passing the bar or before passing the bar. Also, how did he get to that job? How many places did he apply to, and how did he get the job placement, if it was before or after passing the bar. If you can share your experience with that, Emmanuel, I think that would be useful to people to understand how you got the job.
Yes, thank you. When I left UC Davis, as I said, I was pretty much targeted on going back to Nigeria to practice. I got some pretty nice, juicy offer from Nigeria in law firms, but then I got the job I got from a national bank here in the United States, and it was pretty decent job as well. I knew I could grow a lot of experience in it. I just simply applied I was doing what we call OPT after you graduate from a US school. It's an optional practical training period I had. So you had an opportunity to be able to work in your field of study for a period of 1 year. And I just applied to it. And I just wanted to see if I was going to ever be opportune to get the job. And believe it or not, I just got the first email. It was like a dream. I couldn't believe it. I looked at it. I was like, really? These guys are trying to really consider me. And so I took that interview. I could tell it went pretty well, decently. I was cautiously optimistic though. But then I got the second call. Then I had that second interview. It seems fair to me as well. And before you knew it, I got the job again. I was on optional practical training, OPT. And so I had just about a year to be able to do that job. And I hoped that I was going to, be able to extend my OPT period. But then, yeah, before you knew it, I just kept going on like that, like that, like that.
Yeah,
And in
absolutely.
terms of job after passing the bar, obviously now I am an attorney. I've passed the bar, and so it's like a floodgate of opportunities. Just opened up. When you pass the bar in California, um, yeah, I would say the sky is the limit. That's because obviously it's just for me it opens a lot of doors. Whether it's in the corporate world, whether it's in legal practice, for me, I always wanted to practice law. It's what I've always been doing. So whether it was back home in Nigeria, I've always wanted to be in the courtroom, practicing and advocating for our clients, and that's what I'm doing today. And so I'm in our firm right now. Yeah, I absolutely love it over there, and I head the litigation department in our firm.
Thank you for sharing that, Emmanuel. Rowena, I know that you're also here. How is that for you? How was your experience in finding a job? Of course, you found a job before you passed the bar exam. How did you go about it?
Yeah, so just like Emmanuel, I just applied, honestly, directly. I was quite lucky in the sense that I started applying in January, so in my second semester at UC Davis. And I actually got a few interviews with law firms. And I think what really helped was my past experience coming from international companies like PwC and Nike. So if you're a fresh graduate in your current country and you immediately do the LLM, you're going to have a significantly tougher time trying to get interviews as compared to someone with experience. And even so, if you have experience in international companies, for instance, that's highly valued here. It's all about what's in your CV. So, but at that time when I was in when I was doing the LLM, I was a F1 visa student, so I couldn't work. So all of the interviews I got, the first thing I said, well, I can't work right now, but I can work once I graduate in June. Are you willing to wait? They said no. So I didn't get any of the offers at that time. But for me right now I'm a green card holder. So my opportunities are slightly different in that sense. But what actually helped me was the courses that I took. So I talked a lot about contract drafting and development, which is one of the skill courses that I took, and how that related to the jobs that I was applying to. And I made sure to indicate that in my CV. I think one thing very helpful when you're applying for jobs is to use, like Perplexity or ChatGPT to refine your CV and tailor it according to the job description. I think that's very important. So for example, if it's an IP related job, you try to put what are the skills that in your CV that will relate to that IP related job. So for me, if it's contract drafting and review, what kind of skills I've gained in the LLM or in my career that would relate to that job description. I think that's how I got interviews in the past.
Yeah.
And it also is helpful not to send just a generic CV around to every single job. You have to tailor it. You have to spend a lot of time tailoring it every time to each and every job. So yeah, I just applied honestly directly, and I was lucky to get a job because of that. For me, networking didn't really help that much because a lot of times, one thing that I've learned here is that it's all based on communities. A lot of lawyers here tend to help their own community. And if you're someone that's not from that community, it's a little bit difficult to get your foot in that door. So I would say cold apply, reach out to alumni, in LinkedIn, just ask for a coffee chat. Try not to ask directly for a job because that doesn't really work. You need to build that relationship with them first. They need to know what you can do, how's your experience, and then from there, kind of work your way to working with them to get a job in the future. So
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. And I know again that we're way over time, so we appreciate you staying on and sharing your insights. One final question, and then I'm really going to call it a day. I think there is growing concern from people how they should navigate job security with ongoing visa complications. Of course, this is not something that we can advise on, but for people who are currently working, like you, Rowena, and of course you, Emmanuel, also, you might have different visa status, etc. But what do you hear in your companies, or what do you hear in general for law workers, hearing about the visa complications, also hearing the H-1B 100K required visa fees and the stigma of hiring international students or immigrants. What do you see? What do you have as input? Of course, Shamay, if you have any input, we would love to hear it, but I know that this is pretty typical for the US right now. So Rowena, do you hear anything in particular? Do you have an answer for that?
yeah, so it is quite tough. I have another friend who also graduated with me in the LM. He's now in New York. He's for a New York firm doing immigration, and he's on the OPT. And they did apply for the lottery for him, and he unfortunately didn't get the first try, but he has one more try next year.
Yeah.
And I know coming from immigration background that another option you can do if you do not get the H-1B or if you not get a company to sponsor you is that your best bet is to work for international law firms or companies that have international presence in your home country. One way you can bypass the lottery is to first work on your OPT for a year and then get them to send you back to your home country or to a country where you have work authorization. And then after a year, come back on the L1 visa, which is their intercorporate transferee visa that you can do. And I think some people that I know did that, especially if you're, let's say, from China or you're from India, and there's India or Chinese law firms here that are willing to do that to send you back to China or India, or whichever country that you come from for a year. And then maybe after that, come back on a different visa where you don't need the lottery. Then that's one option you can do too. But generally, it is getting tougher, unfortunately, but I wouldn't say it's impossible. Your best bet if you want to get a job in the US is to definitely first get work experience in your home country and avoid coming without any work experience. Try to get work experience in an international company, especially.
Yeah.
That helps.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing. Emmanuel, did you have any other insights or any other
Yeah.
thoughts on that matter?
Yeah. I mean, it's if you are an attorney in your home country and you come to the United States, let's say you do a master's degree here, and you feel like, well, you want to retain status or adjust status in the United States to remain in the US. Obviously, the current climate is very hostile to a lot of those projections, but they are still absolutely doable. We're gonna have to see, what happens with the lawsuits that are being filed challenging the Trump's era $100,000 fee on H-1Bs, which pretty much it's just a kick against what the H-1B really was about. We're gonna have to see what that lawsuit, what comes out of it. But in the meantime, it would seem to me that they're just trying to, stifle every opportunity people have, to be able to migrate to the United States under the H-1B system.
Yeah.
But if you're a lawyer in your home country and you're here and you come here, I think you still have a chance. Yes, I understand, not much law firms are going to want to pay $100,000 every year for someone. But if you are coming in and you pass the bar, for example, you're an attorney here and stuff like that, and you show good quality, you might just be lucky.
Yeah.
And by the way, in about what? 3 years, all of this might be over. At the end of the day, the $100,000 we're talking about, it's a matter of executive action. It can be torpedoed by this different set of executive order. It's not a statute or a congressional law, and so yeah, time comes with everything. So time changes and everything changes, and we'll see how it goes. For now, if you come here, you're doing a master's. By the time you're done with your master's, you're doing OPT. By the time you're done with OPT, before you know it, it's probably 3 years. It's all gone. All of this will be absolutely crushed out. I don't believe it's going to be able to test the time. I don't believe it will stand legal muster. I know the Supreme Court will defer to the Trump administration about the $100,000, and that's simply because the Supreme Court believes that the federal government should have power to dictate everything that has to do with immigration policy, and so I don't have full faith that somehow the lawsuit is going to, succeed against the $100,000, and that is again because the Supreme Court thinks that it is the executive arm of government, which is epitomized by the President of the United States, to be able to dictate what happens when it comes to immigration policy. So they're going to call it immigration policy. I think in another 3 years, Trump is no longer, the president of the United States. I think a different president who comes in is going to take it
Yeah.
out. It's an absurd policy.
Thank you for sharing your insights, Emmanuel. Shamay, I have a last question for you. What was,
Sure.
to end on a fun note, because this was very unfun topic. What was your favorite memory of being here at King Hall, and what is your advice for people who are currently thinking about doing an LLM here?
Sure. I mean, I have a lot of memories, actually, very positive memories. Starting from kind of making friends among the LLM students as well as the US, American students. Also, learning to how to ride a bike, even that's what I did in Davis. So and some trips, etc. And the courses, in terms of academics, I learned a lot, which proved very useful in my future career. So yeah, so I really recommend those of you who want to take LLM. I really enjoyed my time in Davis, both personally and also academically. So I really recommend people who are interested in taking LLM, just go for it. You really won't regret living and studying in Davis.
Thank you very much, Shamay, and thank you very much for being present here today. Rowena, do you have any parting words, any fun memories that you want to share? Any any thoughts, any final advice for people coming here?
I think one of the fun memories is going for field trips.
Yeah, we have
During my
many of
time,
those actually. Yeah.
yeah, I feel like when I came to UC Davis, I was like a kid again when I was on a, with a school backpack going on a field trip. It was pretty funny. But we went to Coloma and then we went wine tasting in Sonoma County, which was
Yes.
really fun. And I had a really great time in UC Davis. I think compared to my experience being in a law school overseas, UC Davis was just very different. It didn't feel like a law school, it just felt like a community. It's just really nice. My advice was that if you want to study in the US and you have the dream of migrating here, definitely do the work beforehand. But it is gonna be tough if you're international, but not impossible. So yeah, just work hard, and UC Davis is a great school by the end of the day, and you would enjoy yourself here.
Thank you, Rowena. Emmanuel, same for you. Do you have
Yeah,
any parting
absolutely.
words?
It's same thing. It's a it's a college community. I love the as Shamay said. I used to ride bicycle for fun when I was in Nigeria, but when I came to Davis, I had to ride it as part of the culture, part of the community, part of what I saw there. It wasn't about just for fun anymore. So for me, I liked all of that. I liked the environment. That just the sense of community is it's a college based community. It feels like everybody knows everybody. I love it. We used to go to like some clubs and pubs, and when you get there, it's like everybody who you meet there, they're all students. It's
Yeah.
like everybody's a student somehow. Either they're a student or they're lecturers or their workers or their staff. It just so I loved all of that, and it's just a beautiful community to be. It's a beautiful place. If you have a family, it's a beautiful place to raise kids as well. I was I don't I didn't have a family when I was in Davis, so if you have one, absolutely, it's a nice place to raise a family as well, and I think it's a great place to live. So.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you to all of you. Again, very much over time, so I'm indebted to you for your participation. I really appreciate it. Maybe we can get one picture. I'm happy to take a screenshot, and maybe our social media manager can take one too. So let's try to do 1, 2, 3, and then I'll try and take a screenshot. Put your nice smile on. All right, perfect. We got a picture. So thank you very much for your time. I will stay on a little bit longer for some additional questions, which are just general questions. So I wouldn't be requiring any more time for you. Of course, you're very busy, Shamay. You're very late at night already. So thank you for your time. And Emmanuel and Rowena are currently working. So thank you for taking the time out of your busy day and your busy schedule. I appreciate you very much, and look forward to having you in the future.
Yeah, this was really
Bye.
fun. My pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Have a
Thank
nice
you.
day.
Bye-bye.
So regarding other questions for people who are still in the audience, I do see that we have other questions. For example, from Agustin. Agustin had a question,
By the
which
way,
is
if anyone, I can put up my email. If anyone has any questions, feel free to reach out to me.
perfect. Thank you very much, Emmanuel. I will make sure to share your email in case there are more questions.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Okay.
So I see that Augustine had an additional question, which are pretty personal questions. This is why I didn't ask them to the panelists, but you're asking. You believe it's great to learn from the panelists about studying in UC Davis and living in California, and you have, of course, many questions. You were asking if you would suggest to choose a concentration or a customized curriculum. Again, this is very dependent. You know, the panelists would have answered each in their own way, and that might not have been very useful to you because it's very personal. I think the step for you to take is, of course, apply in general, not for you personally, but in general to apply to get admission. And once you have admission, there are many ways to get help and counseling. Also with Professor Mori, who is the director of the LL.M program, who would be giving you advice on how to schedule your class roster. So he would help you if you indicate your goals and your hopes for the LL.M program. He would help guide you in what courses to take, and also if a concentration makes sense for your goals or not. Now, of course, how did you fund or finance your studies and living expenses? What would you recommend in this regard? This is very dependent on every person individually. I would recommend that you, of course, look deeply and research additional scholarship or financial support, whether it be from organizations like Education USA, which is usually an American embassy in your country. They can help indicate different scholarship opportunities. Of course, there might also be scholarship opportunities with the law school that you're planning to apply to. For example, if you're applying directly to UC Davis School of Law, you will be automatically qualified for a generous partial scholarship. So these are all things that are quite personal, and I didn't think that would give a lot of input from their experience, because everyone comes with a different background. And so I thought it would be a better idea to discuss this once the panelists are offline. And then, of course, if you collaborated with teachers on any kind of project, this is something that is very dependent, again, on the school that you're applying to. But specifically at UC Davis School of Law, there are a lot of centers that are available, centers that are usually spearheaded by faculty. So the faculty is in charge of the center, but there are also students who participate and volunteer in helping with those centers. We have centers like the Water Center, but we also have immigration centers where students can participate in. So so that might help with a little bit of information. And Augustine, I will send you some personal information on that for more information. I also saw, so we got the question from Jose about the visa complications, and Salehe, who very much enjoyed the talk. It was a good time sharing careers for UC Davis. Learned a lot from Emmanual, from Rowena, and Shamay, and he's praying that that he will come to our LLM program next January. We're looking forward to that too, Salehe, and also for all the other participants that are still here and participating and listen to the alumni. I hope that it was useful for you to learn from their experience, from their stories. I think it's mostly an opportunity for you to listen to what their experience was like, and I think they all came down with a very